welcome back to our channel, and again thank you to everyone who have subscribed on our last cases. So today's case is going to be the Madeline McCann case. I have been asked on many occasions to cover the Madeline McCann case. I have done it on a live video on Facebook at the start of the year, but I've decided to add it onto YouTube as well. So as every other crime video goes, we will be using the spirit box. This is probably the biggest and famous missing person case there ever has been. I'll be very interested to see what comes out on the spirit box, but again I'll give my take, again just my opinion, through it as well. So again, subscribe, comment, like. Thank you so much for joining us. Sit back and relax and let's do this case. Madeline McCann was born in Leicester to Kate and Jerry McCann. She also had two younger siblings who were 2 at the time. They were twins. They flew out to Playa de Luz on the 28th of April alongside 7 of their friends as well as their children. When they arrived, they were allocated the apartment on the ground floor, apartment 5A. Now, it was said that these apartments were rented by friends and they were on a complex, so Playa de Luz is known as Little Britain for the amount of British expats that are there, and also the amount of British that own apartments there as well. McCanns had a week-long holiday planned and everything was going great. Now on the 3rd of May 2017, on the evening that Madeline disappeared, it was said it was just a normal day. They had got up, the kids had went to the kids club, they then went and had a family lunch before going back to the pool together, which I will put a photo in, and it is Jerry McCann, Madeline and her siblings, and it was the last ever photo that was taken of Madeline. Katie took the photo. Kate then took the children back to the apartment. Jerry went for an hour's tennis lesson. When he came back, they then took the kids back to the kids club to get their dinner. They brought them back up and they put them to bed at 8 PM for them going out for dinner. Kate and Jerry were first to arrive at the tapas bar that night before their friends. The tapas bar was 50 yards from their apartment. Now, it was said there was a message in the message book at reception that the McCanns and their friends booked this table 8:30 every single night. Now, the table showed a view to the apartment. I'm going to pop the map up after this, that you could actually see the apartment, but you couldn't see the door. And every half an hour, they would go and check on the children. Here comes my opinion. I have 2 daughters, one born in 2003 and one born in 2007. Whether anything had happened to Madeline or not, I would never have left my children in a foreign country in a hotel room. I'm sure in the UK to leave them home alone is illegal, so why did they think it was okay to do it on holiday? The McCann and their group of friends, there were 7 friends, also Kate and Jerry, which made 9. They then became to be known as the Tapas 9. The McCanns also decided to leave the patio door open with the curtains shut. So the curtains were shut, but the patio door was left open. Now, the reason they gave for this was because previous nights before they'd been using the front door, but the noise of it unlocking was waking up the children, so they decided it would be easier to leave the children in the hotel on their own, leave the door wide open and shut the curtains over, more so the children could get a good sleep and not be disrupted. Or was it they didn't want to be disrupted? Now at 8:55 that evening, the routine checks started. Here's something I've picked up on already. They said already that they checked every half an hour, but if we look at the times, Kate and Jerry had left the apartment well before 8:30. At 8:55, Matt Oldfield went to check on his children, followed by Jerry McCann at 9:05. So again, these half-hour checks, I'm picking this case apart and psychically I get it as well. If yous had been out the longest, surely yous would be the first back to checking your children. Or is it because yous considered they were in view that was okay. Again, we have to look at behaviours, we have to look at things leading up to it, and I just think as a parent, and I'm sure I'm not the only parent that thinks the same thing, very, very selfish act, very selfish act. Back to the apartment, and as he went in, he noticed that the door had been closed with just a slight opening, but it was open more. Apparently, he noticed that, and that was a big thing. Here's my question. Now, he went in and all children were in their bed and everything was fine. Why, if you thought someone had moved that door and the children were still sleeping, one, why did you leave them? Two, why was that so significant? My opinion, psychically, fabricated. Also, he left the apartment again. As he's walking back over it, he bumped into a friend, Jeremy, who also was on the holiday with them, who couldn't come to the meal, unfortunately, because his child wouldn't settle that night. But at that time as well, there was a lady, Jane Tanner, who'd went and checked on her children, and she had said Jeremy and Jerry had seen her, but she hadn't seen them, but she said she also seen a man holding a child who was quite limp, with pink pyjamas on. But Jane never thought anything of that. Well, Jane, you probably wouldn't if you were just heading back for the bottle of wine. Another thing I feel very fabricated, and that's why I'm putting it across this way. I've promised myself in this video that I will be honest and true, and I will give my total psychic vibe. I do genuinely, as a psychic, believe both those stories are completely and utterly fabricated. Did say, which is fair enough, that it would be normal to see a man carrying a child in pyjamas, especially if they're on holiday, and the fact that the child might be sleeping. I just, from a psychic's point of view, it seems very fitting, very, very fitting, between the door and then you seen someone, or she seen someone, sorry. At 9:30, Kate decided to go and check on the children, but Matt, their friend, was going to check on his children, so he offered to check on the twins and Madeline as well. Now, Matt went into the apartment. He noticed the door was slightly opened as well, but he'd not been in the apartment before it, just saying. He said for sure the twins were there, but he couldn't say for sure if Madeline was there and if the window was open. But Matt, you were going to check on the children, so I don't understand that. And I'm sure, again, any other parent, if other parent asks you to check on a child, you probably check more on their child because you know you're responsible at that point for them. These are well-educated human beings. Again, and I just think this whole thing with the door, it was opened a wee bit, but Matt was never in the apartment. 10 p.m, Kate went to check on the children. When she got into the apartment, she said that the door handle flew shut. It was like a gust of wind. And when she went in, the window was open. The twins were there, but Madeline was gone. She left the twins in the apartment and ran to her friends at the tapas bar and said to them, they've taken her. Straight away, the friends contacted the reception, who then contacted the police. What I find very strange about this part is, it's all very fabricated. The door, the gust of wind blew the door. They seem very fixated on the things that they're planting. Again, just my opinion. The police were called just after 10 p.m. when Kate went to visit the children, and obviously Madeline at this point was gone. Then her friend pipes up that she had seen a man carrying a limp child with pink pyjamas. Now, if you remember, previously in the video, that would have been Jane Tanner. She said that to Kate McCann after Kate said they've taken her. Is that just me, or is that a little weird? The police were called at 10:15. The police arrived at 10:30. Also, a short time after it, the National Criminal Investigation Unit arrived as well. Now, they used their dogs, they used people within the hotel to search for her. Again, absolutely nothing. Also at this time, Jerry and Kate McCann sat in the apartment. They didn't go looking for Madeline. And a little later, they then gave a statement to the media.
It was clearly very, very difficult for Jerry that first night.
A very short statement to me.
Sir, could you step forward, please?
It was very raw and very early.
Just the BBC.
I've got a short statement to make. Words cannot describe the anguish and despair that we are feeling as the parents of our beautiful daughter Madeline. We request that anyone who may have any information related to Madeline's disappearance, no matter how trivial,
at that moment.
There was a few mistakes by the Portuguese police. The apartment wasn't sealed off as a crime scene, so there was nearly 20 to 30 odd people in that apartment, which would have then contaminated the crime scene. They also didn't alert the border guards till a few hours later, and Interpol didn't put a missing persons alert out until 5 days later. So there certainly was mistakes on the police's side as well. But an Irish family came forward and said that they had seen a man carrying a child, pale, blonde hair. He was slim to normal, 5'7", dark hair, didn't look like a tourist. The same type of identity that Jane had given. Here's the thing though, Jane said she'd seen that at 9, and the Irish couple said they seen it at 10. Are they both lying? Is one lying? The first suspect in the Madeline McCann case was Robert Murich. He lived in a villa 150 yards away from apartment 5A alongside his mum. Now also, he'd been translating for the police and been very helpful in the case, but it was actually a journalist that then said he was being quite suspicious and different things as well. So then it led the police to make him the suspect. They searched his house on the 4th of May and then the 4th and 5th of August. Now they found nothing, but also his mum backed the alibi up that he was at home with her that evening. So he was the first suspect on the case. The second suspect was the McCanns. McCanns being the suspects, the police brought in 2 sniffer dogs from the UK that were trained to find dead bodies and blood. Now, the dog alerted straight to the apartment, but also the dog alerted to the back of the rental car of the McCanns. What had been discovered was that the rental car they got a few weeks after Madeline had went missing, but when they tested the car, it came back as inconclusive. Side note here as well, it was also said that the morning before Madeline went missing, she'd said to Kate, "Why did you leave us crying?" So it sounds like she'd maybe woke up the night before, Mum and Dad weren't there and she'd been crying, but they obviously hadn't heard her. But I'm sure they would have come back in that half-hour space that they said that the McCanns were suspects. They were told by the police, or Kate McCann was told, that if you admit to killing your daughter, bringing her to some sort of harm, that she would only get 2 years and Jerry would go off with it. Now, we know that's interrogation, but it tells me that the Portuguese police had a strong feeling that they were possibly responsible for Madeline's disappearance. The McCanns also used some of the charity money to pay off their mortgage, the money that had been raised to help find Madeline. I did purposely decide to do this case so that I could pick it apart from the beginning, which I have done. But what I'm going to do now, I could sit and go through a lot of theories with you and other things that has happened, but they're very, very irrelevant to the case. At this point, as I said already, I've just chose to pick apart the things that I feel are lies on a psychic level or that just don't seem to sit well. I am now going to give you my conclusion before we do the spirit box. Considering this case, I'm very, very eager to do the spirit box, but I feel I should do the conclusion first. So again, you guys, I think you've got a fair idea what I think already, but again, so that when we're doing the spirit box, we know what we're looking for. My conclusion. It is only my opinion, but I do believe in my work, firmly believe in my work. I am very good at reading through photographs, pretty much anything. I've looked at the story over and over again. I've always had the same belief with this. I believe that Kate McCann sedated her daughter with sedatives alongside her other 2 children. And whether Madeline, I don't feel Madeline took a bad reaction. I feel she topped Madeline up more because of the comment that she had made in the morning about waking up crying and no one was there. I feel that she gave her a lot more sedative than she did in the previous nights. I want to say that the time 8 o'clock came, Madeline was already faintly breathing, but I don't feel the jet. And I feel that Madeline passed away between 8 p.m. and 8:40 p.m. that night. I don't believe the TAPIS 9 did half-hourly checks. I believe that Jerry McCann was away for a lot longer than expected. I feel that they 9 people were aware that Madeline was gone, and I'm using the word gone, by 8:35 that night. I want to say that I feel they hoped that Matt would notice that Madeline wasn't in the apartment, but Matt didn't. As you all know, he noticed the twins were there, but he couldn't say for a definite if Madeline was there. I feel the McCanns hoped that Matt was the one that was going to raise the alarm. So you can imagine their shock when they went back. He came back to say that everything was fine. I then believe, sadly, they knew it was inevitable that eventually people would notice that Madeline wasn't there. And at 10 o'clock, Kate knew she was going to be the one. I find it very strange that you left the apartment, the 2 children still in it, that your other daughter had been abducted from, to run and tell your friends, to then go to reception before you then lead back to that apartment. The door, the gust of wind, it seems all very, very fabricated, and I psychically get that 3 of those members on that holiday don't know. They don't know if you've done it or not, but they firmly believe it's likely that you have. I want to say that the man walking with the little girl who was limp, I feel that was a tourist. It was confirmed in 2013 by Metropolitan Police that it was a British tourist. If I'm being completely honest about it, I don't even believe that British tourist exists. The time frame, and one thing for doing these cases, you realise the time frame is everything. One scene the man carrying the girl at 9, one scene the man carrying the girl at 10, where we just hoping there was a man because automatically we presumed abduction. This is where it might get a little bit a twist and a turn. I feel the Portuguese police have been more on point than ever, and I feel that the UK police have protected the McCanns because, again, they don't know what the truth is. I feel they're very well educated people, hierarchy within their jobs as well. I believe that they took Madeline to the water. I believe she was put in the sea because they could not risk the body of Madeline being found for what would come up in the autopsy. I don't feel the children, the siblings, were tested. I do believe that Madeline wasn't taken straight to the water. I do believe she was taken somewhere where there's a lot of white fans. It's like the air conditioning and it's very lower, like basement. I feel she was put there, which would then lead me to the rental car. I don't feel Madeline's body was moved to 19 days after her death, 19 days after she disappeared, and I feel then she was put in the back of the car and taken to the water. What I do feel is they were stopped on the way back by a local and they paid someone money for something. I don't know what it means, but I'll just give what I get. But they paid some sort of money for something as well. But I feel that's why the rental car does tie in, and I don't feel the tests were inconclusive. I feel they were actually conclusive, but because they couldn't place the car at the time of her disappearance, it was then weak evidence. I don't know if the siblings were tested to see what they'd been given the night before. I find it very strange the fact that Madeline said that. I think it's very, very orchestrated, not to cause offence to anyone, but what I get with those people, very educated and no common sense whatsoever. The windows, the door, all these over-dramatised things that when you've lost your child, that is the last thing you think of. And as a mum, if my children were missing, I could not sit in an apartment whether police were telling me or not to. I would need to go and look for my child. I get at that point, you were whispering to your husband and your husband was whispering back because you both hadn't had time to speak to each other to find out. I don't think Kate knew where Madeline was when Jerry first took her, if that is the case. And I feel all this was coming out bit by bit. I find it very strange about the brief statement. What I got with the brief statement was, why so quickly? Why? And I know a child's missing, but why were we appealing to abductors at that point? I don't feel the Portuguese police believed she was abducted. I feel that they were giving them the platform to then investigate and see behaviours, all these different things. I firmly believe the Portuguese police believe that it's the McCanns that are responsible. What I do get with this case is that the secret will never be held forever. There's a little girl in spirit alongside 2 ladies and a man. And that little girl tells me she's going to be found, and it's going to be a bracelet that's found on her wrist to identify who she is. I feel that there is someone else involved, but was not part of that party. There was something Portuguese. Whether they were responsible for Madeline's disappearance or not, the question has to be asked. It is illegal in the UK to leave a child in their home alone. They were British citizens. Why were they not dealt with that way? All these years down the line. What I do think is, because of their job, I can imagine it has been investigated, but I do believe that the sedative has been written under Jerry McCann's name, and I believe the Portuguese police either found the evidence, but I also believe that the UK police at one point spoke down around the Portuguese police because, again, they didn't know what they were doing, which then discredited the police, which made people lose faith in the Portuguese police. When in actual fact, I believe that they were on the money. I believe that they did make a crime scene, but because it was abduction, they didn't want to frighten the parents for the first hours that they were in that scene, in that situation. The rental car, I do believe the dogs were onto something. I believe that they had the clothes that they carried Madeline in the car, and that's what the dog was picking up on. I believe that the Portuguese police knew that. And again, not enough evidence. But what I do think is that 5 people will be charged, but there's going to be a suicide before there's a charge. The fact that they paid off their mortgage with the charity money, all those people giving the McCanns money to help find their daughter, because guess what? Each and every parent could relate to that, because it's a parent's worst nightmare, but you went and paid your mortgage off. I don't think that you should have the children that you have, because I don't feel much has changed. I feel for somebody to get away with something like that, and I do feel that your children do know, and they have their own memories of this. And I do psychically get that Kate and Jerry McCann tell themselves every day they're not responsible for it. Again, this is just my opinion. As a psychic, I firmly believe in my work, and I firmly believe that if it gives anyone any peace, that little girl is in spirit, alongside 2 ladies and 3 men. She's very, very well protected. She was not suffering. She never had any suffering whatsoever. I feel her heart just stopped. I keep getting a lazy heart. I don't know what that means, but it could be just with the sedative. She also tells me that she could hear 2 men speaking outside in a corridor. It's like maybe that's what woke her up, or that was one of the last things she could hear. So again, I do get between 8 PM and 8:40. I'm now going to do the spirit box, guys. This is just, again, my opinion, but again, as a parent, you can't help but get angry about it, the spirit box. Madeline, if you're with us, can you speak to me through the spirit box? I know you are. Madeline, can you tell me what happened to you? Madeline, can you tell me where you are? You know something. Madeline, who knows something? Did someone take you, Maddie, from the apartment? Something was artificial. Madeline, what was artificial?
I don't know.
Can you tell me where you are? There's fishing net. There's a man that still fishes there. Right, I've never been to Portugal. I'm just going to give you exactly what I get. Something turtle, but not an actual turtle. Something turtle or turtle something. Can you tell me what you mean by that? Can you tell me who's responsible for this, Madeline? It's very busy. The campus. Can you tell me where your body is, Madeline? Madeline, will they find you? Is that the site? Right, I'm just going to give this. I feel she's in the water, but I feel that there's either like fences, but I don't know if it's padlocks, but there's something touristy in a corner where she was, but I feel the same man was always there fishing and still is, and I feel it's not that he knows that she passed, but he has a feeling that she's there, and that makes her happy that she's been acknowledged. This would break your heart, absolutely break your heart, honestly. Guys, that is the end of the case. That's unaged me a wee bit. You've heard my conclusion. I really hope that the tap is 9 or the McCanns see this video, and this is my direct message to you guys. There is going to be charges. You're not going to get away with it. You might never pay back all the money that people donated to help you guys, whether it be the government, whether it be the civvies, whoever it is, but justice will be served. And I feel one of your children are going to be the witness around this, or someone's going to slip up. They might have been 2 years of age, but I just feel one memory sticks with someone in particular, and that might unsettle you at times. And I really do hope to each and every one of you that this video's unsettled you this fine evening. And please know from me, as a psychic, your daughter is fine. She's in spirit and she's safe. Guys, that's my conclusion. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please comment below with the spirit box if you can pick anything up that I didn't. It's so much easier after looking back. Again, thank you so much. Remember to like, comment and subscribe. We are also on Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat and TikTok, Chrissy's Readings, and Chrissy's Readings 1 on TikTok. Thank you again. Like, subscribe, comment. You've asked me to cover this case, and please comment below as well at the next case you would like me to have a look at. Aye, stay safe, take care, see you soon.